Well, hey there, little lady. Have you ever wondered if you'd be more successful on YouTube if you were a man? Have you ever noticed that women watch both male and female creators, but men mostly watch men, unless the woman is being sexualized? Do you ever feel like your hard work is ignored, but a guy doing the same thing is called a genius? Well, too bad, because the patriarchy has been ruining your chances since birth. Because after all, in a media landscape where attention is currency, your success isn't defined by your talent or effort, but by how seamlessly you conform to a system that was never designed for you to thrive in.
I'd be just like Leo in Saint-Tropez. I'm so sick of running as fast as I can. Wondering if I'd get there quicker if I was a man. Hi everybody, my name is Emma. Thank you for joining me on my channel here today. Let's jump right into it because this semester I decided to take a class on gender studies, and I actually found it really challenging compared to what I was expecting, if that makes any sense. I thought it was going to be something like really easy for me and I would just get to talk about stuff I was passionate, and in many ways it was, but in many it also challenged beliefs I had about gender that I didn't even know I had. And when I say challenged, I do mean in a good way. Like, it was something that was difficult for me to kind of start to conceptualize, but in a way that I was glad I was doing it. Does that make sense? So this, what you're watching right now, is one of my school projects. My final project, actually. And I was gonna try to just say this off the top of my head, but it's too wordy for me to remember. So the project that this is, that we're watching, no, you're watching, I'm not watching it, is to intervene in normative power relations and public constructions of gender and to bring visibility to a topic that matters to you. Your job is to investigate public constructions of gender, sexuality, race, and racialization, class, ability, etc. And then to stage some form of intervention that opens space for others to consider these issues in public, aka material or digital, innate space, digital. Be sure to choose a subject that you're passionate about. Okay, I lost it there at the end. But that's the general idea. I'm here to intervene in normative power relations and constructions of gender. So my goal here today is to kind of bring attention to some of the ways in which gender plays a role on YouTube. Some of them negative, which is mostly what I'm going to talk about today, but also that the world is not ending and that it's a lovely space to express your gender and your gender identity, right? So in preparing for this video, I decided that it would be a good idea to go back to my most watched video and kind of look back at some comments. And for context, if you don't know, unfortunately I live with knowing it every day, but that video kind of got picked up by sleep fetish YouTube. But this is so far the last name that I have. And boy did they run with it. So I ended up getting a lot of male attention that I didn't exactly want, but I was like, I'm not gonna say no to engagement and views. And honestly, most of it was funny, but some of it is definitely uncomfortable. And I wanna kind of break down why I think that's relevant to what I'm talking about here today. So when looking back at some of the comments, there were some trends that I noticed. And some of the obvious ones that you would know, and this is across the board for all my videos, is like flirtatious comments, sexualizing comments. That's not specific to that video, but it is specific to men. so that's just the first thing, but that's the obvious thing. The next thing I noticed when looking at the comments on that video is weirdly a trend of questioning my integrity, which now that I know it, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. But I constantly get comments on that video, or got comments on that video, basically saying that I was faking the video, or that what I said, like that I edited it, or I think it was titled, or something in the thumbnail said like, I'm so embarrassed, and somebody's like, if you were really embarrassed, you wouldn't have posted this. And I was like, I can be embarrassed and also post it, but I think it's funny that they're even questioning that I feel embarrassed. Like, it's just bizarre, if I'm honest. It's something I kind of wish I didn't realize, but I realize it now. So additionally, in the video, It's basically me just recording sleep sounds with an app, so the app picks up any sound I make during my sleep. And at some point, I say like this gurgly, demonic like thing, and it's like, and in the video I say, comment down below, what do you think I said? And I got so many comments saying what people thought I said. But I also got comments that were somewhat suggestive of what people thought I said. And I'm not saying that that was necessarily purposeful, but I am saying that it was only men who left comments where they thought they heard things like, you need that so bad, don't you? Or, you just need to suck that D. And so they might have actually heard that, but I just think it's interesting to point out that it was only men who heard suggestive things in that garbly goop mess of what I was saying. And that kind of led me more to think about the differences between how men and women are treated and perceived on YouTube. And when I think of YouTube, funnily enough, I often think of commentary channels. Like, I don't know why, I just feel like that's a very like represented group on YouTube, but it is. And so I started to think, you know what? Most of the commentary channels I know are men. And I started to think, why is that? When the commentary genre started, it was predominantly, if not exclusively, made by men.
For a long time, this type of reactionary cringe content became what's known as the commentary genre on YouTube. In 2016, the roster looked like the cast of a Big Bang Theory spin-off. Eventually, less edgy commentators, video essayists, movie and TV show reviews, and even women made their way into the genre. It became this all-encompassing, personality-driven genre for someone who talks about stuff.
I would say predominantly now it's a lot better. Like there's Tiffany Ferg or Gabby Bell. Like there's lots of successful women who make commentary stuff. But if you look up like best commentary channels, or you look on Reddit for recommendations for commentary channels, it's still predominantly, and no offense, I like watching these people still as well, but it's still predominantly like Drew Gooden or Curtis Connor or Danny Gonzalez or so on. You know, we can't forget Chad. She's a very popular commentary channel right now. But all I'm saying is it's something to consider about what voices are being heard on YouTube. And then it tied back to me thinking about how many people were questioning my integrity on that one video. And then I thought, does that tie into the big picture? Like, is the reason that commentary women are not as popular or wasn't as popular in the beginning, is that have something to do with the credibility and integrity of women being questioned? I'm just gonna leave that right there for you to think about, whether you agree with that or not. Something to consider. I just can't help but wonder how this contributes to their success on YouTube.
For sleeping with a minor after he was well into his 20s, which is something any innocent person would do, especially go DJing in Las Vegas. That's also a normal reaction. But this shocked the community because he'd always make videos dunking on misogynists and like people who most would say deserved it. But he made it lighthearted, funny, and entertaining.
The community's silence on this has been so staggering that people are now saying that commentary YouTube is a boys' club, aka a male-dominated space that mistreats women while enabling and protecting men. And the truth is, Cody, whether you're guilty or not, you are being enabled to ignore this and protected from having to respond as an act of misogyny towards Tana Mojo. We both know that on our side of commentary YouTube, any man can easily elevate himself by dunking on misogynists in his content and espousing a generally feminist viewpoint. But if that viewpoint turns to silence the moment a situation is no longer cut and dry, then that viewpoint was a brand strategy, not a belief.
And then I think, like, yes, they are succeeding in that space, but where are women predominantly spending their time on YouTube? Like, what kind of content's being made? When I think of women on YouTube, my brain goes to makeup, fashion, vlogs, honestly, family content. But that feels like a very limiting idea, you know? And maybe that's just me. But my point is, it kind of seems like, to me, femininity in online and offline spaces is somewhat expected, but then it's also mocked for its frivolity. Does that make sense? Let's bring it to the real world. When you see your uncle, who's really into sports, or maybe just your whole family, maybe everybody's into sports, and they wear jersey to the game, or they wear a jersey at home to watch the game, and they have a mug with the stuff, and they have merch, and their family buys them, I'm a Canadian, so hockey merch. Their family buys them hockey merch every year. That's considered socially normal and acceptable. But you see the Swifties going to the Eras Tour, and they make friendship bracelets, and they wear a cute little outfit, and they have merch. That's considered crazy, like they're crazy fans. I don't know. I am a Swiftie, so I'm biased, but it's just interesting. And I remember I spoke in class last semester because we had a class on Taylor Swift, and somebody was talking about how crazy it was that there's literally an app, like when the Eras Tour was happening, there's an app where the Swifties go and vote which outfits she's gonna wear that day. And people were talking about, whoa, like that's kind of crazy. But fantasy football's like fine. I don't know. It's a public construction of gender to me, and like what is considered normal versus crazy fanatic. Like, hello, in my point of view, your little jersey is your hockey cosplay. You're cosplaying Wayne Gretzky. That's the only hockey player I know, so that's all I have to say. And also, one thing I find really disturbing is the hate Taylor Swift gets for going to the games. Like, oh, I'm sick of seeing Taylor Swift at the games, and they pan and they have the Taylor camera. People are so upset at that, and I'm like, what are we teaching our daughters, really? She's out there supporting her boyfriend, and we mock and honestly get angry. Like, what message are we teaching our daughters? And what's wrong with you? I'm going to quote a content analysis by Döring and Mohseni. I hope I'm saying that right. But I'm just going to quote it because there's a lot of valuable data here. It says, among the top 100 most subscribed YouTube channels in 9 different countries, I think they analyzed 900 channels, it says, with a statistically significant portion of only 25%, female video producers were strongly underrepresented. A second content analysis of 2,400 video comments directly replicated the original study's main qualitative results. This is a bit of an old study, but the analysis confirmed that the popular female US comedy YouTuber Jenna Marbles received much more negative, including hostile and sexist, feedback than her male counterpart Ryan Higa, aka Nika Higa. However, a third content analysis, and this is important just to add to some perspective, I'm not going to just show you the data that only supports what I'm saying. However, a third content analysis of 6,000 video comments from 5 other pairs of comparable comedy YouTubers did not reveal that women's videos generally attract a larger number of negative video comments. They go on to hypothesize that women attract more negative comments only if they display their sexuality, like Jenna Marbles previously. I don't think she really did before her channel ended, or address feminist topics, but not if they conform to gender role expectations. So I just think that's something to consider. One, the underrepresentation was clear, and again, this is a bit of an older study.
I need to interject because while I was editing this, I kind of started to wonder what is the current like top 10 that's not brands or like celebrities, and I kind of stopped counting, but I reached 7 men, 1 woman, 1 minor, and 2 where it was like run by both. Like one was a sister brother, one was like a boyfriend and a girlfriend. I think it was all in Korean. So anyway, nothing has changed. Go back to the video.
But it's not that long ago. Underrepresentation for sure. And there is the difference of comments. Now they say that they didn't really notice a big difference, but if we have a YouTuber who's comfortable with their sexuality or discusses difficult topics like feminism, then they get more hate comments. I also read a paper, and I'm not going to go too deep into it. Oh, here. Who unlocked the kitchen? Online misogyny, YouTube comments, and women's professional street skateboarding. It's essentially about how the abuse and harassment of sportswomen has become a global issue, especially online. They say in the summary that while sportification of skateboarding has increased professional opportunities and media visibility for women athletes, it has also resulted in misogyny and gender abuse on online platforms where competition coverage is posted. So it's kind of, the battle's not done. And I'm just here to demonstrate that this is still present and it's still prominent. That's all I'm trying to say. Before we finish off, I would like to briefly consider intersectionality, because I feel like that's obviously important to consider when we're discussing feminism, which we are. Intersectionality, if you don't know, is basically about how some women face more barriers and obstacles than others. And it's not just about gender, it's about how race, sexuality, and other identities compound the issue. For example, Black and queer creators often face not only misogyny, but also perhaps racism and homophobia, making expectations even stricter. They don't just face both those issues. Intersectionality is about acknowledging how they combine to create unique issues that are perhaps different, and barriers. And to her credit, the origin of intersectionality is attributed to the work of civil rights scholar and activist Kimberlé Crenshaw. So it's important to acknowledge that this idea of thought also comes from a history of Black feminism. So before I finish this video, where it may sound like boo-hoo, poor white woman, not popular on YouTube, that's not exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm basically just wanting to finish this video by acknowledging that even though I'm queer, I am basically like white woman passing, straight passing kind of thing. So the obstacles that I face, even though I face them as a woman here on YouTube, which is the topic of this video, they are still not as great as some other people on here, and I think that's worth noting. Guys, don't eat the McSpicy. Christian and I both have diarrhea, apparently. I was trying to think today, what could I do to make my hairstyle gayer? And I don't know if this accomplished it. I'm sure I missed a lot of things that I want to say, and I actually feel like I didn't say enough, even though I'm looking at my little timer here and it says I've already been talking for half an hour, so oops. But I guess that's all I want to say for now. And I think it's okay if my thoughts are incomplete. I don't know why anybody should expect me to know all the answers. I'm just putting some stuff out there and I'm considering it in a public space. And guys, that's okay, I think. And if you don't believe that, then I'm telling you now that it's okay. Alright, thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me that you do. You can like, comment, subscribe if you want to, but hey, I'm not forcing you to do anything. Just know that I will asphyxiate you with my gay little braids if you don't, okay? Bye, I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to me blab. Mwah, mwah. Mwah. Put in the work. They wouldn't shake their heads and question how much of this I deserve.
But don't worry, if all else fails, you can always pivot to true crime.
What was that? What did you think?
I think I was goofy in the beginning, but you